And we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, Hilchais Tefillah, Siman Sadi Dalid, and we're up to Sif Tes. Says the Mechaber in Sif Tes, Mi shehochrach le'isbal miyushav. Someone that is forced, someone that has to daven sitting down, as we learned in the previous Sifim, one is allowed to daven sitting down if the situation dictates it. Kishayuchal sarlach shel asbal mu'umad. Says the Mechaber, when able, re-daven standing. And you don't have to add on anything. So comes along the Mishnah Berurah over here in Sivkatan, Chaf, hey, and he explains, and similarly, if he is traveling, that's if the time has not passed yet. Sivkatan Chaf Zayin ve'inay tzarech, or tzayna loyma. Does that loy havi kimisbal b'teres nedava? It's not like you're davening as an adava. The Kaimlan, the Kamam Sivim Kov Zayin tzarech l'chadesh ba. That when davening as an adava the second time, you have to add on something. Uladina, his schema achrayim concludes achrayim she'ein tzarich lachzar. One does not have to ulisbal she'ein is daven a second time. And similarly, aminag she'ein over derachim she'espalu b'derech miyushav chayzim misalin she'einis. The minhag is if someone davened one time sitting down, he does not daven a second time after he gets wherever he is going. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, Mikol Makayim, Emu Raitze, Yachlis Balshinis B'teres Dedava, Emu Batuach, he has to be confident. She'echavin Libo B'tvilas, that he's going to have intent. K'mo shekazav Seif Siman Kov Zayin, Ve'ein Tar L'chadish B'davar, Zeshem Esbal Ataba Midu K'chidish. The mere fact that you're davening standing, that itself is the chiddush to give us all chizik. Those who are able to davening standing, and any time that one pushes himself to daven in the right manner, standing itself is the chiddush. Nowadays says one should not daven b'teiras nedava. And we go up and we continue with the Rama. Says the Rama, Mishba b'derech musamach l'maloin. Someone comes on a journey and he's near the hotel, and if you're able to pull over in a place that the other journeyers are not going to bother you, it's better not to daven in a hotel of Goyim. So if you're able to daven on the side of the road, that would be better. So they don't mess you up. If it's impossible, then he's probably find a corner in the hotel and daven there. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkatan Chaf Ches, that you're bam in aderech leilich litztadiv u'lispal shamamida. So pull over on the side and daven there standing. And this is in what situation? Sivkatan Chaf Tes Amalain Shel Akom Shebevadi Yish Begulum V'Ta'evois. There are idols and other abominations. There's no reason that you're bringing in tefillah, darsha b'kedusha, such a lowly, disgusting place. Sha'arei, Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom amar k'teisi es ha'ir, when I leave the city, v'gaimer, that Moshe Rabbeinu told, teaching us that Hashem only spoke to him when he left the city last week's parsha. V'loratz l'sbal b'mitzrayim l'vishayim alei glum, he didn't want to daven in Mitzrayim because it's full of avodah zara. And what's the reason? Sivkatan lamed shlo yivavlu b'nei bayis, sarach leimer b'seiva acher, Tevas Karen Zavis. Ratzalaimer explains the Mishnah Berurah. Shlo yachish rak limsei Karen Zavis shlo yivavlu. You should find a corner so they don't mess you up. Aval lo yachish ligilulim. Don't worry about all the disgusting things there. Sheikal tfilasenu bayaris b'leis klum. Says Mishnah Berurah. Unfortunately, living amongst the Gayim, our tefillas are the same. But let's say you're davening and this is common in certain hospitals, etc. That's the place that a patient needs to daven. So let's say the eastern wall, when he figures out where's Mizrach, there's an idol on that wall. Al yispalu lo'iseitzad, do not daven there. Elul etzadacher afal b'shein Mizrach, which perhaps is obvious to us, but it's important to mention. This Berurah teaches us that you never daven towards an idol, and therefore, if God forbid there's an idol in Mizrach, you daven in a different direction. If you can't get off the road, you have to daven sitting or riding. You're not going to find the corner in the hotel to daven. It's better to daven sitting. You can have more kavana. And again, that's the same idea that we keep on seeing, that we have to realize the priorities. that of course you want to daven standing, and of course you want to daven, but if you're not going to be able to, then it's better to daven sitting down. That's another example, as we mentioned, flying and whatnot. Often you're going to try to daven, 5 minutes before boarding. That's the greatest bilbo in the world. So it'd be better to get on the plane and sit down and daven there. Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's better, of course, to daven not as you're traveling. And you should daven standing with kavana. Before we continue, let's just see Dirshu note number 33. 33. What does Dirshu number 33 say? That when you're in a place with an idol, you daven into a different direction. And number Dirshu 33 is really the case that we spoke about. What happens if a chayil is in his bed and he's not able to daven another direction? And again, as we mentioned, the Aro tells us this is common. So he's lying in his bed. What does he have to do? He wants to daven, and directly in front of him is an idol on the wall. Says the Shar Mitzvah Halacha B'Shem Shal Zetshuva Chilik Levi Sheispal Ba'atzimus Einayim. Close your eyes. Do as much as you can do, and you're able to daven in such a scenario as you have no choice. And now let's begin this Siman Tzadi Hey, in which the Mechaber coins Kivan Evara V'Shas Tefillah. Says Mechaber Yechavin Raglav Zeitzal. How do we stand? Our feet one next to another, B'Kivan Ki'ilu Eino Ela Echad, as if it's 1 foot. Why? Says the Mechaber, as everyone knows, the Damos the Malachim, because we're compared to Malachim when we dam Dechsiv Bahen, V'Ragleihem, their legs are Regel Yishara, or one straight leg. Keloimar, meaning to say, Ragleihem Nir Kraglecha looks like one. Says the Rama, when you get up to daven, you take 3 steps, Derech, Keirov Agash Ladavar Shatzarach Lasa, is as if you're approaching and encroaching something endearment that you're about to do. So says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sefkat and Aleph, how do you stand when you daven? You're Yechavin Raglav B'Diavad, Afilam Lokivin Raglav Klayat. Let's say you didn't, you messed up. Sometimes you see it, sometimes perhaps own is totally everywhere, and his legs are separate. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you're still Yaitse. Now, why are we putting our legs together? You're talking with the Shechina, and we're seeing for this Mishnah Berurah that it's a bid for the person himself. It's not just the fact that you want to look like a malach. For your own self, you want to remove all your machshavos. You're talking to the Shechina. And how do you do that? You do actions that make you feel as if you're a malach. You're sitting, but again, as we mentioned, one's on an airplane, whatever the scenario is, you put your feet together according to the Pri Megadim. Shouldn't lean back or on the side. It's a gaiva to separate your feet and lean, etc. Such a scenario, you're going to sit with your head bent. Says Mishnah Berurah, you don't have to go backwards to go forwards. King is Valley Rab. What's the minhag? Of course, we take 3 steps back, we take 3 steps forwards as we're approaching the Shechina. Says Mishnah Berurah, Kasav Darkei Moshe. When the Shechsiva gets up, Tilas Kel Elyon, that's when the Ma'aril will stand up. By Mincha you would stand right away. That's when the Ma'aril would stand up. You move any phlegm and spit, and anything else that's in the mess of your kavana, you move it all before you begin. We continue with Sif Beis, says the Machab. So your legs are together, you should bend your hand a little bit. On your eyes to be down at the ground. And you're thinking, as we've already seen, as if you're standing in the Beis HaMikdash. You believe you're looking downward, you're thinking Beis HaMikdash, but your heart is soaring up to heaven. Let's just take Sif Gimel together. Pirush kikishurim, you put your hands in your heart as if they're tied, as if they're tied together. Hayamanis al asmailis, your right hand on your left hand. When you stand like a servant in front of the master, with fear, trepidation. You shouldn't put your hands in your sides. because that's a manner of Gaiva, Ayin, Reish, Siman, Sadi, Zayin. So says Mishnah Berurah over here, Sivkata and Dalid, Shi'einav, that your eyes should be downward, Ayin Le'el, Siman, Sadi, Siman, Sivkata and Chav, Mishnah Berurah. Vabakas of the Kodesh Yaskel Spal before you begin to daven, Yistako b'chaloina Yiskab B'shamayim K'dei She'eli B'ay Nechna. Says the Bach, before you begin, look up outside, look up into heaven, think about heaven. It makes your heart have a bit of lowness. And then look downward to daven. Lamata l'Aretz, and then you look down into the ground. Those that look up as if they're looking at the roof. Ha'malachim aligin aleim. Rachmana litzlan, and the malachim are laughing. Don't do anything crazy when you daven. When you're by yourself, if one is davening b'yechidus, then you can do what you need to do. Laharim kol chadayim, to raise your voice and daven silly you should not do. Anyone who doesn't close his eyes will not see to see the Shechina when his soul leaves his body. Let's see davening in a siddur. When you're looking into the siddur to read it, last lan bas. The issue is just to look all over by Shonaseh. You either close your eyes or look directly into the siddur. Mishnah Berurah. Liba Sivkata involved, says Mishnah Berurah, that your heart is Bashamayim, says Mishnah Berurah, B'makish Nagin La'amoid Kain, like the manner in a place that someone stands like this in front of the king. You put your arms and your heart, Yamin is al Smilis, your right on the left, the Ramak or Mishka Devarai teaches that your thumb goes into the palm of your hand and then you close it. So you see your thumb over here is in the palm and then you close your hands one on top of the other. You should shake. All your limbs say to Hashem, who are you? So on your whole body, this is shuckling to be involved in the process. So we conclude today's share with Sif Talid that says, you want your legs together as well when you say Kedusha. It says Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat and Ches, which moves over to the next page over there. Shari Oimrim, Kishem Shmaktish, Maraim. Because in Kedusha we say, just like they're Makdish, they sanctify Hashem's name in heaven, so too we're doing the same down here. So let's see some dirshus over here. Your Chavin Raglam number 1 says, that the Beisesi says you should have no space, so it shouldn't be that your heels are together and your toes are separate, but no, all the way to your toes should be one next to the other. Comes along Ramesh, and Ramesh says, let's say you're not able to, so what do you do? As much as you're able to, you should put your feet together. A Sheikh Sibur that davens and his feet are not together, says Ramesh, if it's not able to do it, then it's okay. But if it's because he thinks Shehutar Adavar, that you're allowed to have your feet separate, and therefore, because of that, says Ramesha, he doesn't want to change. Even if he does this many, many years, he should not daven. We should not let him daven. So again, if he's not able to put his feet together, that's one thing. But if he thinks, what's this whole putting your feet together? Don't let him daven. Continues Dirshu number 3, that says, the tikkun agov is of the matter. You have to be careful about them. All these different ways of standing in your hands together is not ma'akev, which means as well putting your feet next to each other. As we said, you have to do as much as you can, even when you are sitting. And why are you putting your feet together? Because you're like a malach. Says the Dirshu over here number 4. What about women? Even though according to them, it's not possible the reason that they're like a malach. But still, says the Teres Chaim, and obviously this is the minhag, they should still put their feet together. Why? Because they have the second reason, as the Torah brings from the Yushalmi, that you're like the Kohanim that are going to the Beis Hamikdash, that they keep their feet together, and that women are as well shaykh to the Avaida Ula Avdai Tefillah. So even though a woman might not be medamet to a malach, but they still should put their feet together. It helps with the kavanah. It helps that they are appearing like the Kohanim Beis Hamikdash, and everyone could do the Avdai to serve Hashem. So women should as well keep their feet together. And the Dirshu number 5 says even if you're davening lying down, so when sickly and whatnot, Makar Chaim still says you should put your feet together. And to come along, Dirshu number 6 and 7, that the minhag is to take 3 steps. Why? Says the Darkei Moshe, because the 3 times it says Vayagish in Tefillah, Vayagish Avram, Vayagish Yehuda, Vayagish Eliyahu, Vayar Carmel. That's the reason why we take the 3 steps by davening. And the 3 steps that you take backwards, says the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and Dirshu number 7, you should do this before you finish the bracha of Gal Yisrael. You take the 3 steps back, and after you finish bracha of Gal Yisrael, you just walk forwards, greeting the Shekhinah as you walk forwards. What's the reason? Why is this not considered a hefsek between Gula and Tefillah? Says the Tefillah David, because of course it's a seirech, it's a necessity of the Tefillah. By Mincha Meir, while the Shliach Sibra is saying Kaddish before Shemona Esrei, says River Safayim, the Ramosha Feinstein, when the shots was Paisea, the 3 psiyos before Kaddish, that's, B'yoisei shots, when he was the shots, he would take the 3 steps before Kaddish. Why? Because Kaddish is part of Shemona Esrei. So an interesting nikuda from Ramosha, the River Ephraim, quotes that if someone is davening for the Amid, before he says Kaddish, by Mincha Ma'ariv, he should take the 3 steps, so as not to have a hefsek between Kaddish and Shemona Esrei, because the Kaddish by Mincha Ma'ariv are a chelek of the Shemona Esrei. V'im Adim Shal Acher Kvar Yischel Shemona Esrei says Rav Chaim Kanievsky, what do you do if someone behind you is davening Shemona Esrei, and therefore you're not allowed to walk, as we've learned within the 4 amos of someone davening Shemona Esrei? That what is the halacha? You should begin Shemona Esrei without taking the steps. And explains Rav Chaim the kavanah over here. After you said Ashrei before Kaddish, that's when everyone else is going to take the 3 steps. And with that, we conclude today's shiur, and we're going to pick it up from Siman Sadi Vav in the next shiur, B'siyata Dishmaya.